The Stonecarvers Guild podcast is a part of the Stonecarvers Guild organization, which is a fantastic organization. Don't y'all agree?
Oh, yeah, it's great. And it's cheap, too.
It's well worth the price of admission.
It is, for sure. You can find out how to become a general member at stonecarversguild.org. There's a Get Involved section. And I've been a member of the Stonecarvers Guild since its inception. It's been an unbelievable resource as far as the knowledge. How did you describe it, Joel?
Oh, it's a living library of knowledge that the stone carving world otherwise is sort of hard to break into if you are looking around for it. I'm a general member. I'm not a full-time stone carver, but I love it from kind of a hobbyist, part-time perspective, but looking to learn more, and found that through the Stonecarvers Guild, through its forum, and through being able to connect easily with other like-minded folks like Bethany and Matthew.
Yeah. So if you want to be a general member, it's just $40, and you would have access to the resources, which include the forum, and then you can log on and you could ask Matthew questions on the forum.
Or anyone else.
Or anyone else.
And also there's the annual meeting, which I just love because once a year, getting together and sharing stories is an unbelievable experience. And that's something that's also available to general members.
Attend a general meeting or even become a professional member, which has other benefits as well. You just have to go to stonecarversguild.org and click on Get Involved at the top.
Join today.
Welcome to the Stone Carvers Guild podcast. Here you will meet a variety of carvers working throughout North America. Drawing on our collective experience, we seek to share knowledge about this ancient art and to do our part to ensure that stone carving will play an important role in built environments for generations to come. So whether you are an experienced carver, new to the craft, or just curious, put on your safety goggles, open up your mind, and welcome to the workshop.
Oleg Lobykin, probably one of the more diverse, how would you say it? His work spans everything from restoration to conceptual art.
He seems to be willing to work with whatever material makes the most sense.
Yeah.
You know?
But without losing a sense of the materiality of the material.
I thought the materiality of the material seems to be the main material of his material work.
Some good material here.
He had this sort of overarching kind of positivity, just willingness to talk about it, kind of like it was no big deal, having a huge breadth of work from figurative to, again, conceptual to column work and some giant stuff, as we'll talk about. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice to like explore someone's portfolio online and have them talking about it. It's really the kind of like web experience that I want for every website that I visit.
Right. I'm really glad that you asked that question at the end about the beach pebbles.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like that gives a really good insight into his approach.
Yeah. And we were also just talking about that. Was that with Sebastian that we were talking about found material?
Yeah.
And just like the challenges of that and how, I think there's something really cool about a found
for sure
object that then you can shape.
And we even got his take on hammer and chisel versus pneumatic.
That's right. But we don't want to give too much away.
Yeah. Stay tuned to find out how Oleg feels about all things related to sculpture and stone carving. The one thing that I do want to highlight that I think really comes through in the conversation is like how the foundation of learning the craft of stone carving it really translates into all of these other materials that he, has since started exploring. And I just think that's really interesting because there is something so fundamental about stone as a material. Boy, we say material a lot.
your Lobykin.com has
Yeah.
it has everything from stone to metal to on the bottom here you see
Right.
this solar art design, which is a far cry from the
Oh, yeah.
traditional custom fine stonework and stonemasonry restoration.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah. Are you focusing on any one thing right now, or do you always is this a progression of things, or do you just always have a lot of things going on?
Yes and no. I'm interested probably in a lot of different things, so that's why I'm all over.
Mm-hmm.
In some degree, probably it's not great, but that's how I take things,
Mm-hmm.
That's how I do things. I just have interest in this and that. I mean, I'm doing masonry restoration, working on historical buildings, preserving past for the future.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's absolutely different thing. Like when you're trying to create something your own.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why even like two different websites.
Mm.
The solar art design, a lot of those are renderings. Have some of those been?
No, nothing
there's-
have been realized. It's just like I call it big dreams. Well, it was one
Okay.
specific project in Abu Dhabi, and I was kind of participating in the competition.
Mm.
That's how it started. But when I started actually working on it, I was thinking, oh, you can actually use, for example, those solar panels and arrange them in some kind of a graphic design. And it will be much more interesting than just simple rows of the solar panels.
Mm.
And started work on it, and even like, I don't know, made a bunch of designs, but none of them have been realized, and I don't know actually how to do it.
Oh.
I really love the idea of the QR code, arranging the panels as a QR code.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think
Yeah,
that's
well,
really-
some of them I was thinking about, like specifically actually starting this first design because it was on the way to airport, Abu Dhabi. And so you can see perhaps from the plane, the arrangement, because it's a big in space installation. But from above, you could see how it might look. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. That's really
Yeah, that's
cool.
very cool.
So the first two pictures are of the same design. It's just from different perspectives. Am I interpreting that correctly, or?
Are you talking about solar design?
Yes,
I'm
on your
actually
website.
not on website, and I don't remember what is the first two pictures.
They both have kind of a dome surrounded by.
Oh, yeah. There's, I think, actually a number of pictures which one related to one specific design. That was a kind of a starting one.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool because from the perspective from the side view, it just looks so chaotic. But then from the bird's eye view, it's this almost looks like ceramic tiles.
Right. But that was inspired actually Arabic graphical design, which one quite often you can see on minarets or somewhere else, or kind of like tile work. And actually, if you click on specific picture, it might have hidden another picture, so you can see and learn a little bit more, including some description.
Okay.
So if you click on it, you'll find more information.
It's a great website. Did you design this yourself?
I did, but I'm actually, as you know, from Stone Age, so
Sure.
I use some professional help to put it together. My wife, who does it, she helps me.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
just arrange size, choose, I don't know, fonts, things like this.
Yeah.
But she
Wow.
helps with that. Yeah.
So I feel like this is a really interesting place to start. Can you walk us through and tell us what the link is between stone, like how do you get from stone carving to solar art, and what's the common thread, and what does that tell us about who you are as an artist?
Out of
No
the
pressure.
gate with a big question.
Loaded
go.
one. Not necessarily I know the answer. It's required me to think about it. I don't know. Probably from childhood, I always liked to do things by hands, think, imagine, create something. And how did it happen? I think it was some kind of a public competition, art call, which one kind of took my attention. And I had actually somebody who is really good doing renderings. So so he helped me to put it all together, and we came up with this. Well, I came up with this idea, proposed it. I got actually good feedback on this specific. I really like Art Call. Basically, Art Call was for Abu Dhabi. They had specific location, and basically they were looking for renewable energy, any kind of source, doesn't matter, waves, wind, or solar, where they were not actually trying to put attention not towards efficiency of the installation, but more like to visual impact. So they really wanted to be art, not necessarily just a source of renewable energy. And I really like that. So it was kind of like very free, pretty much up to artists, like what do you want to suggest or came up with. And I just started to work on it, and that's how it came up with this. And after that, even I couldn't stop and started just like, like how it happened, like when you start working on something, first things and second one gradually just coming in, and third one, and you keep going till nonstop till finally, okay, I'm done with this.
Okay, so the material. So this is simply art in another material, and you're already working in, I see from your website, you're working in stone, you're working in metal, you're working in a variety of things. So this would be simply another material, and you liked the concept. That makes sense.
Well, yeah, I do have worked in bronze and fiberglass and stainless steel, and why such a variety of the, well, because stainless steel can give you reflection, and to place this as another kind of element. Stone doesn't have it. Plus, stone also heavy. So that's why actually those varieties, or like I had like some, for example, quite bright, colorful sculptures. I would not paint stone, but fiberglass, no problem. Especially also thinking about maybe to show later this work here or there. I need to move it. I need to think also about this kind of things. So actually working the stone, I learned quite a bit of things. So even working with other materials is still be kind of helpful to know how gravity works, what we need to watch for. And even like some of my works actually quite often I'm just designing them like kind of a freestanding pieces. So it's even like easier on installation, for example. Right now, for example, I'm working with the city of San Francisco, and we're talking about one of my work on lawn. And there's a bunch of things actually when you start working with government or public place where work's supposed to be installed. It's not just safety, it's also installation, access to the site, how it's supposed to be done, anchors or not. So I have actually some works even like even with structural engineers who said, no, this actually works not necessarily to be anchored, especially for temporary art installation. So it's kind of unusual for a city when they hear something like this. It cannot, well, you don't want to anchor it. So well, yeah. And a lot of my works actually, they're kind of like small things, small works, but maybe big ideas behind. I mean, some of them definitely can be enlarged and done in on larger scale.
So I'm looking at the one called Seafoam. This piece, it's 7 feet tall, 3 feet wide, and 7 feet wide, 3 feet deep, and 11 feet tall. So was that carved all out of one block?
Yeah, it's Carrara marble. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's in Huntington Beach, California. That's that's also public art call. Yeah, that's a piece specifically what I call void series or void and substance. As you have a number of works that kind of like these holes like that. One of my colleague actually friend, when he saw these works, like said, "Oh, well," and she's actually a doctor. She said, and she's working with human bones under microscope.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "It looks just so much like my work
Huh.
under microscope." I said, okay, I don't know. Was it compliment? What it
What's that?
was?
That's an accident. That wasn't your.
No, it was not my intention, but actually, truly, what I was actually trying to achieve. It's probably just a search for your own distinctive body of work, and when you not so limited to form, to shape, and just trying to, I don't know, create something original, something different and new, which one is actually quite hard to do because it was a lot of people before us,
Right.
a lot of things done, especially in art. Anyway, I just took like kind of literally negative and positive space
Mm-hmm.
and started to do what I call spatial compositions, working with these two substances. And I found actually substance cannot actually exist without void, and void cannot exist without substance. Like a lot of things, like which one we do have dualities, and just that's what I actually call it kind of like a harmony in contradictions.
Mm.
So like there is no bad without good. I mean, there is no dark without light, and so on, so on. And it's kind of amazing. But all this works actually, void and substance series, they were created completely based on just imagination. There were no even like reference were used, nothing even like from internet or some kind of images, nothing. Just like just as I feel I was going with this, like just I feel how lines supposed to go, this and that. Plus, some of them actually I was thinking about there could be climbing sculptures, like perhaps for playground.
Mm.
So if it is a purpose of the work or one of the purposes, so how to make it so it would be comfortable, for example, for kids to climb on it. I also learned quite a lot on this because also there's so restrictions actually regarding safety when you're doing sculpture playground.
Mm.
And a very strange one. For example, like there's no limits actually regarding height, but everything's supposed to be smooth, nice and sharp. Plus, there is also some restrictions regarding openings, how large they are. Actually, how large, it's no limit on this, but how small, there is some limits and something between them. Plus, must have soft ground, wherever it is wood chips, sand, or rubberized mats, or something else.
Mm.
And that's about it. Yeah.
So the piece at Huntington Beach, do people climb on it?
No, this actually was not really actually made like thinking about like it's going to be climbing. Plus, it has actually concrete slab under that, so it's not allowed. But at the same time, actually, I recently visited a site and I saw actually a bunch of marks from shoes. So I do know kids do try to climb on it. Probably not up to the height, but at least a little bit.
Yeah.
And
At least until it gets slick.
yeah.
But the La Brea,
Huh?
the Park La Brea playground sculpture, the saber-toothed tiger skeleton, that's made for climbing on.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the first one. It was done, I think, 2004 or 5. I don't remember. It was a while ago.
Mm.
Yeah, that work actually, yeah, it was designed specifically for climbing. And because the location, La Brea and history, and there's Page Museum, which one full of bones and from animals, which one sunk in the Tartars. By the way, actually, oil very well preserve the bones, so they can stay like for centuries without any decay. And when I saw a saber-toothed cat skeleton, it's like, oh, that's what we need to do. Because so they can climb through eye sockets, go around the fangs, climb on the top, and this and that. And it was a very cool project. I got involved with landscape architects who completely was renovating a new park in LA. And all they wanted, they wanted like some kind of a playground, which was supposed to organically continue a spiral line of palms and be right in the center of the park. It's actually a small park, but it's a round park. So that's how it came out. Yeah. And it's actually that work is GFRC, glass fiber reinforced concrete.
Okay. I was going to ask that. Yeah.
And it has a foam core inside.
What is that process? Do you design it in... Do you design smaller models and then...
Yeah. Well, I start usually with idea, with a sketch, something like this, and quite often, depends what it is, if I keep going. Yeah, I definitely always develop a model, because also you need to have this model for clients' approval. So that's how usually I work.
And then after you've made the models, do you scan them? How do you bring them up
depends.
to scale?
Nowadays, yeah, I do use today's available technology, specifically things like 3D printers, 3D scanners. I actually was very much excited when I just found that like it's available, something like this. I wanted to try it right away. It's amazing, actually. It's basically doesn't really change a lot. In my view, it just like increase your toolbox, and some things just well, of course, if you have like 3D file of your work, after that you can enlarge it or reduce it pretty much to any size you want. I mean, it's a little bit harder to do it in old traditional way, but a new way, even like you can just I was trying to experiment with these things, and I did also a lot of small works in different materials. I mean, 3D printers nowadays, they can print from plastic, they can print from steel, from bronze. It's unbelievable. So there's so many options.
So do you have, so after you've made the models for like the La Brea, did you create forms to then cast the...
No. In this specific work, actually, it was done without any molds. No, I was not using any molds. I can tell you actually how I came up to this, because I had some project and I was working on factory, which was specializing in architectural form core products, like moldings and stuff like this. They make it from foam, then they just cover like by layer of cementitious layer, something like that. Fast and easy, and
lighter,
light, yes. And that's so this actually was completely carved by hands in EPS foam, large, huge blocks, like 4 by 4 by 8 feet. Number of
what
blocks.
do you use to carve that? Like a hot...
usually we use hot wire, but in this case, actually, most of what was used, chainsaw, landscape chainsaw. You know what landscapers cut the bushes, make them straight or whatever. You can use same chainsaw, and actually it's very effective. It's very fast.
Wow.
Plus it's so forgiving. It's not like stone, like if you remove too much, it's it. There's no way back. In this case, working with foam, yes, there is way back. You can always adjust in case something like this happens. Plus also, well, some kind of created like a bunch of different devices, but basically also were helping out to sand down foam a little bit too, because after chainsaw you still have a little bit too rough if you want to make it smoother. And then it was applied on the top of it chicken wire, and basically plaster,
Wow.
Portland cement-based plaster, polymer modified. Basically, so it has a foam core and concrete skin anywhere between ½ inch up to 1.5 inches. So
Wow.
it's light, it's easy on installation, it's fast to do, and I was able to fill the budget for the project. So client seems happy. It did work out. It's standing there. Yeah.
And is so the longevity of that is
Probably like
basically-
a concrete. I don't know how long it's going to stay. 20 years, 50 years, 100 years. There's some hair cracks on it already. We do know concrete does crack. But it's still performing quite well. Yeah. And client only, when I came up with this concept, they kind of were a little bit worried. They were worried about, like, how about kids? Will they climb on it for sure? Or maybe they will be afraid looking at this creature.
Yeah, right.
And later I was observing actually interactions of kids. So they love it. Bro, they were absolutely not scared. And actually, no, I don't think even like viewer does recognize saber-tooth cat much. Perhaps they do, but for kids, it's more looks like some kind of like dinosaur bones because the scale is so enlarged. So they're kind of exploring it like a large creature, especially the spine, the ribs, all this stuff.
So do you work alone, or is that the work of a team of people? Do you have assistants and people?
No, quite often I do have few assistants. Usually I have a crew. It can vary, depends on project to project, anywhere between 3 people to 8 people. On average, yeah, usually just like 3-4 people I have. Yeah, and they help me. And that's also another thing is just like sometimes when you're between the projects, it helps me to keep them busy. So when I'm between the commercial projects, what I say, or something for what I get paid, I'm doing just my work and to try to keep busy people too. Yeah.
The column, just to keep scrolling through the
I love
through
the Alabama
web-
column.
Yeah, the Alabama column. Is that, it looks like it was carved out of that wall. Is that the case, or was
Yes.
It was.
It was carved in situ. It's in Alabama, Russellville. Actually, at that time I was working at the Cathedral Church, St. John the Divine. And one artist, she had that's actually her concept, her idea. She wanted to do something like, because basically Cathedral Stoneworks, who was doing all carvings at the cathedral,
Right.
they purchased Alabama limestone quarry, and I think just for marketing purpose, they wanted just to create something large and big, just to show for architects. And we did a number of things, actually. We did some gargoyles. They were small, about 2 feet high. Few, I think actually almost like every stone carvers at the cathedral were working on those. Plus, they wanted to do something right there on the quarry. It's unusual quarry. It's actually kind of inside of the material. It's like a cave, like a natural cave, has same temperature all year round. You can drive inside of it, and the entrance is the size of the movie screen. So even large trucks can go inside of it. And so on the sides of that opening, idea was to create couple columns that are kind of inspired by Abu Simbel, Egypt, but cover them by some kind of designs, carvings, which one related to South, specifically to Alabama State or to South. Like, that's why you can find the Confederate flag or red-bellied turtle, some local birds and stuff like this. It was a very unusual project. Plus, it was also at the same time it was done so we could train local stone cutters. I was working with a French fellow, José Silva de Fonseca. Artist was Penelope Naylor. That's her concept. We spent about 4 months in Alabama working on it. Yeah.
So it looks like, starting from the outside dimensions, it looks like y'all drilled in along the sides.
So much drilling, it's
It
unbelievable.
looks like a ton of drilling.
Plus, we were using actually original old equipment, like mining type of drills. I don't know. They're like about 120 pounds, 150 pounds. They're huge. And Alabama limestone actually is very close to Indiana, even by presence, by color. It just has more like veining inside of it. And when we were drilling it, actually, it was kind of moist a little bit. And it was kind of like a rubber, hard to drill it. We broke so many drill bits, carbide drill bits. They're just like breaking like matches. It's like, plus it was such probably one of the toughest hard labor work I ever did, because I remember coming home after work, eating some food, keeping a spoon in my hand and seeing it like it's shaking. It's still shaking from huge
the
amount
drill.
of vibrations. I mean, working with those drill bits, it was taking us 2 people to hold the drill and third man just to aim and place the drill bit so it get inside, then we can continue on our own. It was very labor intensive, yeah. So we really enjoyed when we got to that part and we started to do the carving. It was such a relief. It was, yeah.
Would you would drill into a certain depth from the finished surface?
Yeah.
And so what is
Because the
what is
column
process?
actually is not completely round. It's like 3/4
Okay.
round, and
Okay.
1/4 is actually still be inside of the mountain. Yeah. On the picture, you don't really kind of see it, but it's actually right in situ. You'll be there. It's a part of the one huge, large block of stone. Yeah.
Wow.
It looks like at the top, it looks like there's such a deep gap between what comes down, what it's supporting. Is it separated there, or is it just, did y'all just cut really deeply in the top of that column, or at the between the stone cap and the column cap?
Or is the shadow playing a little trick on our eyes in that picture?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Sorry, I know you're having to do this all from memory.
Yeah, now I'm going to another website and trying to see what you're talking about.
I love how imposing that column is, while also you have those zoomed in photos there of just some great detail in there, whether it be the fish or the flower or otherwise. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun to work on it, and actually also helping to work on this design with the artist. I also learned actually quite a bit. It's not necessarily actually try to do everything by yourself, especially as an artist, because you cannot know everything. Like, for example, yes, I do have works in metal, but I don't do metal fabrication. I just made a model. I just came up with idea, but not necessarily everything done by me. Because also, well, working alone or just you're always limited. There's other people who know better than you know this and that, and it's great resources actually to do something like that.
What years were you working at Cathedral Stoneworks?
I got there, I think, 1990, and I stayed there till 95 or 96, pretty much till the end of the company.
Okay.
I think actually it's probably most valuable my professional experience working over there because, well, there's a number of reasons. Main one probably people who was working over there. We had people from all over. We had people from France, from England, from Germany, from China, from Colombia,
Wow.
from England. And some of them, they had great experience actually already. They knew what was it doing. And to share that experience, work together and see different approach for this or that, it was incredible actually. Plus carving stone every day, full day. It was amazing. And plus, for me, actually, no, I didn't have any kind of a knowledge regarding cathedral carving. Well, I was, well, we can call it probably more like architectural carving. But anyway, it was great experience just to see how others can do this and that. It was very, very valuable for me. I mean, I still probably, I don't know, the knowledge which one I got there, specifically like practical and skills, they still be with me and help me. And I do apply actually all old skills, technical approach, old methodology in stonework, even like to my own art sometimes. I like actually to use also old way of making things and new technology, combine them together, and it's quite often it does work. But anyway, Cathedral was it was amazing place. Yeah, I was young. It was in New York, and it's great. I think I got lucky to work over there and work with others. It was incredible experience.
Were you already an experienced stone carver when you went and worked there, or is that where you kind of
No,
cut
I
your
had
teeth?
already. Well, actually, I have been. Well, I graduated art college trade school in Russia in St. Petersburg as a stone carver. I spent over there 4 years. And actually, I believe it was only one school in the whole Soviet Union. Actually, it was Soviet Union at that time, which one was training qualified labor for one large company, which one was doing restoration in St. Petersburg and suburbs. And well, it was a planned economy in Soviet Union. So, and also, so basically they were kind of like a monopoly, huge one company. So they had even like their own college where they were training people like me. And it was a little bit different approach. It was kind of like more like academical one. Yes, we were learning drawings, paintings, anatomy, materials. Yes, we did some carving, but more kind of like training us like to do sculpture, to do a copy of a sculpture transferring into stone. So like, for example, learning how to work with a point machine, I had it already over there. But coming to cathedral and working in the cathedral, it was a little bit much more kind of a practical approach, which one I didn't really have. I had maybe more knowledge than practice, and which one was completely fulfilled at the cathedral. So it was great actually, because even like I didn't carve like Indiana limestone before, and I was using kind of a different chisels, for example. Most of you are working at that. In Russia, it was always granite or marble. Never had even almost like limestone. Yeah. But I kind of learn fast and progress very fast, especially probably with my background was very helpful. I'm talking about working at the cathedral. Yeah.
So when you were younger, before you went to college, how were you selected in a planned economy? How were you chosen to go to school to learn trade and restoration and
I don't know.
carving?
I think I was attracted to art right from the beginning. I didn't really know like what I want to do in my life, especially when you're young. But when I just heard about that college and heard about stone carving and actually specialty was landmark architecture and sculpture restoration in stone. That was specialization of this occupation, and that was sounds cool. So I decided to get in, and it was about 30 people, all boys. We didn't have any girls, and 30 people per 4 years, so not so many. Some of those people actually they're still involved in restoration. They do work mostly around St. Petersburg on palaces and other significant important buildings. And working actually at the cathedral, I didn't do much in restoration. Pretty much mostly it was all new stuff, which one kind of like I didn't really kind of know completely how to do it. That's what I learned. But now, actually, I'm back to restoration, and I do in California just like not much of stone carving. It's not enough. So,
Right.
but stone restoration, there is demand for it, and we do focus on this and preserve past for the future, doing it at present time.
Oleg, are there any differences or similarities that stand out between the Russian tradition and the American traditions of stone carving?
Um, well, I don't think actually talking about Russian tradition this even exists. Not really, except that
Okay.
school actually I never knew anything like this even more. Well, plus it was more kind of like I would say uh, Europe has much deeper probably connection to the past, especially talking about, I don't know, France and Italy, Renaissance era and stuff like this. Plus, yeah, it was more kind of academic approach. In France, I know they quite often work in like apprentice works with master works at least like for 4 years, then he can move on and work with somebody else before he's gonna start his own business or whatever. We didn't have, and I don't think maybe now some changes, I don't know, but it wasn't like this. It was classes, it was school. Also, I know in Germany, actually, they do have also some stone carving schools. So they still have some classes, some practice. There's no one-way approach. I think it's kind of a, yeah, there is school kind of helps you with educational perhaps background, but you still need to get the practical skills, which one you can get only pretty much on job site, only when you're doing something kind of like real things. Like even those assistants who is working with me, my workers, I teach them, I share my knowledge, but usually it works like on particular case. Okay, let's say we're doing Dutchman, we need to carve some lost architectural elements, like bases on columns, doors, or parts of moldings and stuff like that. So, of course, I need to explain them how it's supposed to be done. I need to show, I need to provide right tools to do it, this and that. And they continue and they're working with that. Yeah. I have even like a kind of some tests now when I'm hiring somebody, and doesn't matter what person even tell about their background and this and that. Quite often, I just want to see like what they can do by hands, and even like, or even like I'm just asking like to carve, let's say, V-cut, V-cut block or a part of it. I gave chisel, I gave hammer, I show how to do it. Then I'm asked to repeat. Uh, it, 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 how did it happen? Once I had actually some demonstration, and for architects, and then basically organizers asked me like, can you provide something so people and visitors they might have some physical approach to it or touch or try to do. And I decided like, oh, I will maybe provide a few different stones, different compressive strengths, different density, provide tools, and they can do, for example, make a hole. Before drills showed up, how stonemasons were making hole in the stone. So try granite, try limestone, try marble, or try to do just that simple V-cut. And I was amazed actually when architects, I kind of like it. They grab chisels right away, started to do it. But actually, I was amazed to see how people without any experience, it's very hard actually for them. I didn't expect. It's actually, it was not just taking so much time. The quality was bad. We can see like, well, because maybe they work every time in the office, in the front of a computer, they just never had this experience. And some things I just take for myself kind of for granted. For me, it's kind of a simple thing or basic thing where you start. You need to learn how to hold chisel. You need to feel material, this and that. So that's how I started with somebody with a hire. Just want to see what they can do or how they handle this, how they're able to follow directions. And based on results, I already know like how much time do I need to invest in this person before he's gonna provide something. And because just some people, they're naturally very fast learners, and they can feel well and progress very fast. And for some people, it's just not there. It's not their thing. It just doesn't work. Or some people in between, they're kind of like this. That's the hardest part. So some people are kind of like natural born, not killers, carvers, and some really takes the time. Like I have like one guy actually. He came from his background was from service industry, so he never had any kind of like hand tools in his hands, and it was difficult in the beginning. And now he's working with me like for about over 7 years, and he's good. He's good, and he can do by hands. I can use any tools, hand tools, power tools. Oh, I have actually one guy who's working with me over 20 years. He can do things now better than I do. Yeah.
How aggravating.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, like looking at the Benjamin Franklin and Gutenberg sculptures at Stanford, how tall are those? It probably says, but
3 meters high.
Oh wow! So 10 feet. How did when you started on this project, did they have photographs of the missing statues?
Yes, actually, it's not really restoration. It was actually recreation, because they had 4 statues in marble on main facade, main quad, and 3 of them during earthquake 1906 collapsed. They were not anchored. And I think actually Masons before who was working at Stanford, just nobody was expecting earthquakes of such a magnitude. So 3 sculptures collapsed. One of them was kind of lucky, just broken nose and crack on the neck. But 2 others, specifically these 2, they were broken to pieces. It just first of all, two pieces. Even those pieces later, sometime in '60s, they would disappeared. So based on historical photographs, any other available data, including internet, I was searching on them, and actually, I found because Gutenberg. It was actually based on a famous work of Bartolomeo Tarlwatzen, Dutch sculptor, famous one, who was working over 40 years in Italy. He kind of a guy, second guy after Antonio Canova. And so his work actually was very well known in Italy. So that's actually his design for Johann Gutenberg. So and it was really kind of easy to find a lot of information on his work because this work done was in marble, but actually original monument it's in bronze in Mainz, Germany, where first book was printed, Bible of Gutenberg. On Benjamin Franklin, it's kind of a combine. I didn't find specifically exact sculpture, which one was prototype perhaps for this one, but it was a lot of data and a lot of Franklins around, even including like $1 bill, which one actually based on some famous painting with Benjamin Franklin on it. So it was kind of like a little bit information here, there, but Stanford Archives were involved in this. They also help with information. And original pictures, we did have original pictures, but they were like kind of more focusing on facade. All you can see, you could still see shape, silhouette of the sculptures. Of course, you are not able to see any details because it's also old photos, and if you enlarge them, it's not digital, so you don't see any details. But we knew who it was. They had archives. They had some data on this. So, and we knew also it was done in Italy. It was done in Carrara marble. So that's how material was chosen, because basically the goal was to recreate statues as close as possible to originals, use same stone, Carrara marble, and we did go ahead with this, and they already like installed for a few years, and probably most people thinking like it's originals, but actually originals, yeah, they were destroyed in 1906 during earthquake. Yeah.
Wow.
How did you anchor them so that earthquakes?
Nowadays, working with the structural engineers, there's so much anchorage inside of them. There's anchors in the base below. There is also anchors on the back, anchoring to the wall. So now actually, only if all buildings will go down, they will go.
So you said you did quite a bit of that. You do restoration in California, and I'm just curious. How much stone work can there be in California with frequent earthquakes? Is there a lot of masonry? Maybe that's a silly question, but
It's nowadays not much in new construction. Something like is going on, like used to be. I don't know, 19th century. There is truly. Actually, I do a lot of restoration for Stanford. I actually live from Stanford, just like about 4 miles away. I live right between Facebook, Google, and Stanford. That's where the Silicon Valley, right?
okay.
Only one difference. I'm from Stone Age, but there is like IT industry everywhere around here. So I do work with Stanford over 20 years already. I did actually dozens of projects, and truly, actually, it's probably my largest client. But I did some work in San Francisco, also in city over there. There's a lot of sandstone buildings exist. Which one requires some attention from time to time. There is a bunch of terracotta buildings here. Some marble. But of course, compared to East Coast, amount of stonework here, it's less than on East Coast. And Stanford is kind of like very unusual type of Richardsonian Romanesque. This one is not a typical architecture for California, but it's a great example of Richardsonian Romanesque and Spanish mission combined together and actually came out very well. It's a well-known landmark nowadays. Yeah. And they're very serious about preserving it and keeping legacy. And yeah.
Do they build new buildings with the same kind of architectural style?
No. Well, they kind of try to match the color of the sandstone because actually this particular sandstone, the source doesn't exist anymore.
Where is it from?
Where it used to be quarry, it was actually a local quarry around San Jose. There is residential development over it now, so you cannot get that stone. But they do have a lot of stone from previous earthquakes. They have a place which ones they call boneyard, where they collect and save old stone from previous projects, from remodeling or something else. And regarding new buildings, there's actually always some kind of a constructions going on in Stanford. They do use actually limestone, like shell stone. Quite often it's kind of a maybe match a tone of original sandstone, but not necessarily it's exactly same, and they're not really looking exactly the same because also they understand they're not trying to copy or mimic past. They're just trying like kind of keep it. What's more important for them, like at Stanford, like to keep this clay tiles on the roofs. Because it's also one of the distinctive features of Spanish mission.
Right.
And so they still use those clay roofs even on new buildings. But you can see also contemporary features of the new buildings, and specifically, of course, old mechanical equipment and everything inside. It's top-notch and up to date.
How does the sandstone hold up in the California climate?
It holds probably better than on East Coast, but the sandstone actually has very distinctive features which one don't have other stones. For example, it has the highest absorption rate of water. Usually it's around 16-18% from the value of the stone. For comparison, marble has maybe 1-2%. Granite has less than 1%. Slate almost zero, right? So, and problem is for sandstone, basically it's a sand, it's a quartz, about 80%, which one holds by binder, and binder it's a clay. And when a stone goes through wet and dry cycles, and we know clay expands when it's wet and it shrinks when it's dry, that's how deterioration starts. And for example, I had like one of my largest projects at Stanford was working on balustrade, that actually structure under open air, exposed to elements, not protected. Plus, the irrigation was set up not properly, and basically it was making stone wet quite often. And when we have consistent water source like this, the deterioration just accelerate dramatically. And basically also clay, it has also solid, it has minerals which one can be diluted by water, wash out. So that's also a problem.
It's also abrasive, so it starts to wear
it's
itself
actually
out.
natural abrasive. When I was actually studying in Russia, actually we were using sandstone abrasives on marble, not on power tools. Working it like small pieces, working on the sculpture.
Wow.
And just using it kind of like instead of sandpaper with water. It's actually incredible abrasive. It works very well. It's actually even. I mean, it does. It does. Yeah. Yeah. It's quartz because it has a bunch of quartz inside of it.
Right.
Some people think it's a soft stone. Well, it's relatively soft, but because we have so much quartz on it, actually, your tools, including carver tools, get dull on it. Actually, almost like on granite.
Yeah.
Same speed. Yeah.
It's also dangerous to work. I mean, as far as like, it's the one dust that you do not want inside here.
You want to, if you make any dust, you need to use a dust mask. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not forgettable. I was looking actually at Italians, how they work in Italy, in Carrara. A lot of them actually, they don't use even any masks. They're like, there's huge dust, but they don't use it. I'm asking like, why don't you use it, mask? It's like, well, it's a calcium. It's good for my bones.
Yeah, yeah.
And in some degree, actually, lungs can digest, marble dust.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, for the Texas limestones, I don't really mask up unless it's just like, unless I'm just using the saw all day long. But yeah, the calcium, I don't know. It's like breathing milk. At least that's what I tell myself.
Well, and that's one of the advantages of working by hand is you don't make all that dust.
All right. There's the question. Oleg, do you prefer hammer and chisel or pneumatic?
It depends what you're doing. It depends on size. I like to use both. And I like actually hand tools a lot. I started with that hand tools. I still do some work by hand tools. I really like actually, for example, like to do lettering, especially if it's a small size. You cannot really use pneumatic tools. But I'm open. I mean, how would you? Well, there was discussion regarding robots, right?
Right.
CNC machines. There's pneumatic tools, right? But what about diamond tools? Like which one actually showed up just maybe like around 50 years ago or something like that. But it's hard to imagine now, like construction industry, stone industry without diamond tools. It's everywhere. So I think technology is a good thing. It's nothing wrong with that. It's accelerated, provides speed. It gives some other benefits, and it's a part of the present. You know, like technology always developing, always moving humankind forward.
Mm-hmm. The one thing it compromises, I think, is the education process. I think it's good to learn from the beginning, you know, the fundamentals, and that is the one thing that the technological tools can, you know.
I agree, but I think actually one of the largest also problem is I think like in everything it just demand and supply.
Right.
I mean, like, why so small amount of carvers? Well, because probably we don't have actually a lot of work.
Right.
I mean, like, it's different times. So it's not Renaissance period, like where you had like a Catholic Church and Medici family who was strongly supporting arts, right?
Right.
And it was just arts were flourish at that time. It's different circumstances now. That's why I think it is the way it is.
Yeah. I mean, back then, the stone blocks were the structure of the building. Now it's the skin of a building, if at all.
I feel like it would be an interesting thing to have a discussion. So for our listeners, we're all part of the Stonecarvers Guild, and there's a forum on the guild, and we've been having a discussion about technology and the use of technology in carving.
It's been very active lately.
Yeah, yes. It would be interesting to have a podcast that's like a forum, and we could have Oleg and Scott.
A call-in show.
And a call-in show. Ooh. And yeah, it would be really, because I really appreciate your perspective, Oleg, because Absolutely. You seem very hopeful. You seem very grounded and very hopeful and very prolific. It's just, thank you so much for sharing your breadth of work. It's very inspiring.
Before we sign off, I did have one more question about on your website, the beach stones section.
Mm-hmm.
Are those found rocks that then you've shaped?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how I started in California when I didn't have enough job.
Oh,
But I still have plenty of time. I was thinking just to do something. And I didn't have studio. I had like small corner where I could make maybe a little bit of dust. So, and I'm talking about arts. I just decided I found on California beaches a lot of rocks and just like
I love that.
river-shaped rocks. And I decided just use, and I also wanted just to use and keep the natural form of it and perhaps find some kind of a balance and harmony, this human touch to it. Yeah, that's how I came up. There's a series of those beach stones. Yeah.
I love this one called that you've titled The Eye. On one side, is it laminated, or is there some sort of like silver?
Looks like palladium.
No, I think actually it's aluminum leaf, but I was using also silver leaf in applications like this. Yeah. But some of them, the eye actually, it's completely done pretty much. Well, talking about technology, completely was done by grinder. There's one exception to drilling hole to attach to the base. Drill bit was used. So talking about power tools.
So you pierced the hole with a grinder?
Yeah.
Huh?
No, the hole by itself, I think it's a diamond core.
Okay.
But the niche around, it's a grinder only.
Huh.
I don't think you're gonna had any touches by chisel.
Wow.
Not in that case.
And was that presented to George Clooney? Is that right?
Yes,
That's what it says?
It was yes, it was presented to George Clooney, but I did like few similar designs like this, yeah. And one of them got in his hands, yeah. Because George Clooney actually he's a huge supporter of independent movies, and it was for Independent Film Festival. Yeah,
that's awesome.
They found me through internet and just like, well, can we use one of your works as a word? I said, sure, why not? Yeah.
Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Oleg. This has been really fascinating.
My pleasure.
I feel like we just
yeah.
kind of started to scratch the surface too. So maybe you'll come back at a later date. And
let's keep it rocking. Let's keep dust alive.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
It doesn't matter what you use, chisel or diamond tools. It's
yeah.
It's not too many of us, but we are needed. Sometimes actually for people hard to find us.
Absolutely.
And they're very happy and lucky when it does happen. And I think Stone Carvers Guild provides this opportunity, and I deeply appreciate it to know my colleagues. Thank you, folks.
Yeah, thank you, Oleg.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
You've been listening to the Stone Carvers Guild podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation, and we hope that you will find us online at stonecarversguild.org. There you can find photos showing some of the things that we discussed today, additional information about our guest, and if you're so inclined, ways to get more involved with the Guild and our ongoing activities. And of course, if you've enjoyed this podcast, we hope that you will subscribe and rate us on the podcaster of your choice. 5 stars, please. We'll be back in a month with a new episode, so until then, keep your hammer up and your chisel sharp.